Disclaimer. My work draws heavily upon the works of Carlos Castaneda. While there are few direct quotes, the underlying concepts are drawn from his work. My interpretations of those works are provided to advance my own point of view and in no way constitute a claim to anything that was not created by me. I have no commercial interest in this work. It is provided free for those who might find value in it. I have no connection with Castaneda's estate, nor with any entity, commercial or otherwise, that claims to be connected with Castaneda or with anyone connected to him. I express no opinion on the claims of those who purport to be connected with Castaneda, in the present or in the past.
Lastly, this work should not be construed as in any way condoning, supporting, encouraging, or recommending the use of any dangerous or illegal substance, or the performing of any dangerous or illegal activities. The teaching and research methods depicted in Castaneda's works should be viewed as the result of a unique convergence of time, place, and circumstance, and not as a template that any other person should attempt to follow.
Video 4, Part 1. The Teacher's Approach. 1. One of the more important aspects of Castaneda's books is that in addition to describing his own difficulties in learning a completely alien body of knowledge from an instructor with whom he shared no life background, geography, or frame of reference, Castaneda gives us a glimpse into the difficulties faced by the teacher. And while the teacher's challenges are not the focus of Castaneda's narrative, in many ways the teacher's burden is much heavier than that of the student, since while the student, by design, has no idea how high the stakes are, the teacher must deal with those high stakes at every moment of the instruction.
2. The most difficult task for the teacher is to provide instruction that applies to both realms at the same time. Why should this be so? On the face of it, it would seem logical that the most efficient way to proceed would be to define a clear, consistent program and then impart the lessons to the student, one step at a time, for however long it takes to complete the training. One realm, presumably the familiar one first, then the other. The reason why the training can't be done this way requires a further examination of how the modern sorcerers found the way forward from their ancestors' ways and practices.
2a. I have described the two realms as separate, and they are, in that for the vast majority of us the existence of one will never be infiltrated with any sign or effect of the other. In that way the two realms are absolutely separate, the second realm existing all around us as we carry on with life, blissfully unaware that there is, or could be, anything else. But here an important complexity arises. While the two realms are separate, everything that is alive has a form and a nature that is defined in both realms. Thus one form cannot be ignored at the expense of the other, as the teacher is responsible for the development and well-being of both. One of the most important things that the ancient seers discovered was that all living beings manifest a second form, a shell, a container if you will, within which are contained uncountable luminous fibers. Sorcerers refer to this form as the luminous body. The luminous body is what separates living things from inanimate objects and dead creatures. The form of the luminous shell, in terms of how much bigger it is than the physical body, etc., varies from creature to creature, but it is common to all living things and only to living things.
The luminous body and its properties are central to many important concepts in sorcery. The ancient seers, having discovered it, found it fascinating and studied it at length, training themselves to be able to see the luminous body in normal states of consciousness, whenever they chose to. The human body, when seen in its real state, the ancient seers came to understand that luminous nature was the true nature of living things, more on that in future videos, appears as a roughly egg-shaped container of fibers. This container, when viewed from the side, has a line of brightness that demarcates the two equal sections of the egg, referred to by sorcerers as the right and left sides. It was further observed that in every human being, the fibers inside the egg are aggregated into a tight bundle at one spot, in the vicinity corresponding to the general area of the right shoulder blade on the physical body. Subsequent observations revealed the following crucial points.
1. This tight bundle of fibers, referred to as the assemblage point, is responsible for how each person uniquely perceives the world, and reacts to and categorizes those perceptions. 2. While always in the same general area, the exact spot varies from person to person. Think of the fibers as extremely thin wires. Now, imagine that you can grab a thick bundle of these fibers and tie them together, making an ultra-microscopic knot with very high precision, so that the possible number of exact places a knot might be, even in this small area of the luminous shell, would be in practical terms, infinite. 2a. The fact that everyone's assemblage point is in the same smallish area as everyone else's but not on the same exact spot as anyone else's explains why we all see the same world, and yet why no two of us see or think about things exactly the same. 3. By our adult years, the assemblage point becomes fixed for each of us. At birth and shortly afterwards the spot moves wildly, gradually it strays less as time passes and eventually, after years of socialization, becomes firmly rooted on a habitual spot. 4. By painstaking observations of the luminous body, sorcerers have been able to accurately determine that while most fibers inside the luminous egg are native to it, others have lodged themselves inside the luminous body from outside, as a result of day-to-day interactions with other people. 5. Sorcerers were also able to know various personality traits and peculiarities in people, as well as certain physical issues and facts, by their direct examination of the luminous body. Just as importantly, they were able to see not only the differences among people but the commonalities across all people. 6. Sorcerers came to understand that the two halves of the luminous egg are each assigned to a realm of creation. 6a. The right side deals exclusively with the first realm, our day-to-day world, and our perceptions of and feelings about that realm. This realm sorcerers call the tonal. The realm of the known. I use the terms first realm, tonal, normal reality, everyday world, etc., more or less interchangeably where no greater precision is needed. 6b. The left side deals with the second realm, the unknown. The realm that is shielded from our ordinary sight and experience. This realm encompasses everything not in the tonal. Sorcerers have named it the Nawal. I use the term second realm, the unknown, the Nawal, and the like as above, more or less interchangeably except where a certain term is specifically called for. 6c. The need for such greater precision will soon be evident. The tonal and the Nawal are very complex concepts and are at the crux of sorcery. Also, to further muddy the waters, the term Nawal, with an uppercase N, is used to refer to the leader of a group of sorcerers, such as Juan Matus. To understand why the teacher has to address both realms at once, consider the list above, especially item 5. Think of the teacher as a doctor and the student as the patient. The patient is not deathly ill, but complains of numerous conditions, being susceptible to sickness, vague aches and pains, general depression, malaise, fatigue, etc., and never seems to feel 100% right on any given day. Imagine further that the doctor is able to scan the patient with an extremely powerful and accurate imaging system that tells the doctor every single physical thing wrong with the patient. So, having run that scan, the doctor has a good idea of how to proceed with treating the physical ailments the patient manifests. At the same time, the patient needs psychological treatment, or counseling, in order to address the problems that the scan cannot show. For example, Suppose the patient shows signs of a pre-diabetic condition. A significant contributing factor is the patient's diet, but nothing in the impressive scanning machine can explain why the patient eats too much, eats the wrong things, eats at the wrong times, doesn't exercise, etc. The doctor thus has to proceed on two fronts simultaneously in order to achieve the desired results. This is not a perfect analogy, but hopefully it gives the listener an idea of the interdependent and complex nature of the teacher's task.
2b. Having established that the teaching must be addressed to both realms at once, the question remains, how? To address issues in the first realm might not always be easy in terms of getting at results, but the technique is straightforward. We exist in the first realm, and have done so every moment of our conscious lives. The teacher can thus use any number of words, settings, teaching devices, etc., to get his point across, and if one doesn't work, there are literally hundreds of other possible approaches. Given sufficient persistence and enough time, it's not a stretch to say that any issue in the first realm can eventually be explored until it has been solved. In the second realm, however, how is this therapy, for lack of a better word, to be administered? While the second realm is always there, and all around us, inside and outside us, it is not a physical place that one can simply make arrangements to go to on a certain day and time. Fortunately, there is a way, and in a reversal of how things work in the first realm, there is only one approach, one way to reach the second realm for the student. To understand this method, we have to go deeper into the complexities of the assemblage point.
While the assemblage point has a habitual spot, developed over decades, as described in C, above, the point is not forever fixed on that spot. In children, as was noted, the assemblage point is not firmly stuck on one spot. Sorcerers were also able to see that the assemblage point comes loose during sleep. The ancient seers perceived that the assemblage point also can come loose in times of stress such as sickness, hunger, high emotion, positive or negative, the influence of alcohol or drugs, intense pain, etc. Thus it was observed that the point can move, but also that it can't be easily moved any great distance for any length of time. Having our assemblage point firmly anchored is essential to the ability to function in the world. As a result, it is not easy to move the assemblage point very far for very long. But in order for any real learning about the left side to take place, the teacher must push the student's assemblage point all the way across the luminous egg in such a way that it remains there for some length of time, a number of hours, at least. To understand what the teacher must do, consider again the image of the luminous egg, viewed from the side. We can see the brighter clump up high, on the right, the effect of the assemblage point. We can see the line that separates right side from left. What the Nawal does, very simply, is to use his ability to perceive the luminous body in order to perceive the exact spot where the assemblage point is, and then, shove, for lack of a better word, the student's assemblage point across the line and over into the left side. While this is not a physical touching, of course, the student experiences it almost as if it were. Castaneda remarked repeatedly that the process felt for an instant like having the wind knocked out of him, although he never perceived any discomfort aside from the momentary disorientation. To be continued in part 2 of video 4. Coming soon.